Welcome to the CEO and the Salesman podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Whyatt. I'm the salesman part of the title. Each week, I sit down with CEOs and entrepreneurs to discuss and dissect their journeys, filled with triumphs, challenges, and some good old-fashioned business wisdom. Get ready to laugh, learn, and be inspired as we dig into leadership, strategy, sales, marketing, and everything in between. This is the CEO and the Salesman podcast. Let's get on with the show. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the CEO and the Salesman, where we break down how successful CEOs have gone ahead and built their technology businesses. So today we're joined by Mareile Osthus, and Mareile's from a company called Humii. So g'day Mareile, how are you today?
I'm very well. Thanks so much for having me, Matt.
An absolute pleasure. Look, I was looking at your profile, going through it, and one thing that stood out to me is you're a non-tech person in a tech world. So let me start with that. How does a non-tech person survive in a tech world?
That's a really good question. I'm very much a non-tech person. I have no clue about tech, but I ended up in technology because I identified a problem which many others had. And I think I do understand the problem, and I do understand how technology can help to solve the problem. I couldn't build it myself, though. That's for sure.
Right. So, well, let's dive into it. What problem are you solving?
So, yeah, look, I've been working in retail probably the past 20 years, and any business I came across, I've been working predominantly in e-commerce, had basically challenges to measure the online experience, essentially answer the question, what is actually going on in my e-commerce store? Traditionally, retailers would rely on the NPS score to gather insights into their customer experience. But I always had a challenge with that because the NPS score is a biased score. You're only asking people who are already your customers, so kind of leaves out information. And then most of the time you get only people to respond who are either super happy or totally frustrated. But then also the NPS doesn't allow any benchmarking data. And lastly, it doesn't allow any answer to what is actually going on. It's a very one-dimensional score and which is thrown at you. You're meant to understand it, but it doesn't deliver the why with it. So that was kind of the problem I think many retailers are sharing.
Right.
And we decided to find a solution for that.
So I want to go back to that. That's cool because I just know that there's a lot of stuff in there, but I'm going to come back to it.
Mm.
So tell me about your early career and how did you end up as a non-tech person in a tech world?
I wonder that sometimes myself. No, look, I think it was simply 20 years in retail and the last 10, 15 years predominantly in e-commerce. So that was really interesting for me. That's basically everything I've ever learned more or less after leaving university. And eventually you get to a point also thinking, okay, what else can I do? Because I've been sitting in tons and tons of Monday trade meetings and eventually things are getting a bit repetitive and you wonder how much longer you want to do that if that's for the rest of your life. And I always had a sense for finding solutions to problems, and that's kind of how it worked out.
So was there a particular moment or a moment of frustration in marketing? We call it a moment of frustration where you sort of push the keyboard back and go, I've had enough of this. Was there a particular moment that had you say, I've just got to do something?
Yeah, 100%. That was the monthly executive meetings at the Iconic where we were discussing the NPS score, and everyone was running around like an, excited chicken, not knowing what to do. And like kind of, leading into projects and things like that. And then I was saying to myself, like, look, this needs to stop. It's just not good enough. We set the NPS score as our North Star score at the Iconic. That's everything we're kind of getting incentivized by, delivering a great experience, but we're not enabled to do so. And I was just thinking, this is just not good enough. And just like me, there are thousands of other people in retail sitting in these meetings getting incredibly frustrated. So why not solving it? Someone's got
good for you. Yeah, somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So working in the Iconic, that's obviously one of the largest Australian online retail brands. So what are the 3 or 4 big lessons you learned from there, and have you brought those across into your existing business?
I think like growing in this kind of startup world. I joined the Iconic when they were quite small, and that's how I moved over from Germany, helped building up the Iconic, and then we've grown incredibly in that time when I was there. I think the general mindset of a startup, nothing is impossible, is extremely helpful, and I feel like that's something which really resonates with me. I wouldn't be probably the right person for, like, let's say, a bit older and settled structures, but it was just a crazy world, but also really inspiring world. This is like everything can be done somehow, and I guess that's a mindset you kind of get through that, but then also really understand for any other job you take on. Well, we found solutions to everything with nothing, kind of. We will make it work.
Yeah, very cool. Okay. And so you joined the Iconic early. And so what growth did you see? So can you talk revenue or product lines? What's your metric that you're working on there?
Yeah, so I think I joined in the year when we did about 150 million in revenue before returns, and I left when I handed in a plan for 1 billion revenue before returns. So
Wow.
been a massive growth, and obviously a lot of craziness coming within, but also a lot of fun. Like, if you like this kind of environment.
Did the business become more conservative over time?
I guess, well, yeah, I'd say more conservative. Not sure if that's the right word, but obviously the larger you grow, the more structures you need to have, the more rules you need to have. I mean, I think when I joined, it was a kind of a rules-free zone, and it was just a bunch of people who really believed in the idea and really, wants to make this dream come true. And yeah, obviously the larger business gets, the more policies and politics are coming in, I guess.
Got it. Yeah, I understand. And so what was your role there?
CCO, Chief Category Management Officer, or kind of you would call it Chief Commercial Officer.
Okay. Got it. So you've had that experience with a reasonably large brand. What lessons have you brought into your own business? Because you've started your own business and
Yeah.
you want to make an impact. What lessons have you brought over? What good ideas have you brought over? And then I'm going to ask you, what bad ideas have you left behind, if there are any?
Well, I think the good idea is, like, the way we work is like we are super flexible. Like, we allow people to work whenever they want, kind of. And I mean, obviously they have to get their stuff done, but that's only something you can do in a small startup. But I think the whole mentality we have is, everyone can speak up. Everyone should bring ideas to the table. There's no written rules for anything. We got to make it work somehow, So I think the most important for me is as well having people who are really problem solver and not seeing problems everywhere, but, finding solutions to that. And I think we're a very small, agile team, and that's kind of the beauty of a startup. Everyone does everything a little bit. There are no exact, role descriptions that would probably freak some people out. Not the ones we have working for us, but, whoever's available and has something to say or do about it can tackle the job.
Yeah, very cool. And so with your business now, Humii, what are you trying to achieve there? What's the goal in the business there?
I think the goal for us is to really establish us as the authority of online experience and really write a new story of how online experience can be measured. Like, for years and years, and it has been the NPS, but it was about time someone looking into that and redefining the approach, I guess.
Got it. And so are there any marquee stories you can share with us at this point where a client has been able to transform their sales or their customer experience because of using your product?
Yeah, I think it always starts with an eye-opening moment. I haven't come across anyone who knew all the feedback we can deliver through our online mystery shoppers. So we use a network of online mystery shoppers going through the end-to-end process, leaving feedback everywhere, but also, measuring qualitative as well as quantitative data in a way. It always comes a little bit as a surprise to everyone what people find out or what kind of friction they encounter. And then I guess, there's always part of low-hanging fruit and probably some more complicated things. But we've been around since about 2.5 years, and we do have customers since pretty much 2.5 years. And that's people obviously who said like they've taken very different approach to managing their online experience with our help, to prioritization, but really understanding the friction they caused. And obviously we even measure retailers, ranking them by online experience, and we've seen our partners obviously improving their scores a lot, and with that ultimately improving customer retention.
Yeah, that's cool. So you have people going and doing like a mystery shop for an online store.
Yeah. I mean, the
Okay.
concept sounds quite simple and is well known in the retail world for the bricks and mortar world, but was never known for the online world. So I guess from what we know, we're the first ones bringing mystery shopping to the e-commerce world.
Well, my first exposure to mystery shopping was when I worked at McDonald's a long, long time ago, and so fast forward 20 or so years, one of my most favorite and fun contracts I've ever done for a customer was he asked me to come in and have a look at his current process. He was selling a $1 billion beachfront property on the Gold Coast here in Queensland, and he said he had a bunch of salespeople.
Yeah.
And so I had to go in and test the salespeople and ask them questions and ask sales questions and go through the whole process. And I had an absolute ball. I had 5 different personalities. I created new email addresses. I created new names. I knew where my kids went to school in Melbourne. So if the salesperson tried to develop a relationship with me, I had a reasonable set of answers that I could form a believable backstory. I was sort of, maybe I'm a frustrated spy or actor. I'm not sure. Maybe that's what sales is.
I really loved it. I really loved the job. Did anyone manage to sell you something?
No, they were actually, I think what I was doing for him is reinforcing that he needed to do a lot more training and move a few people on, because there was, out of the 5 people, there was one lady who really knew what she was talking about. She was good, but everybody else was, I even had one salesperson who didn't even ask my name. Like, so.
How is he meant to get back to you if possible?
Well, she obviously wasn't. She was, and I think just couldn't care. Like, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on this, what do you call it? The display and the videos and all that sort of stuff. They had an interactive model where the model was set on the beach, and you could actually put in an apartment number, and then you could actually have the view on the big widescreen. Like, all of the tools, all of the sales tools, and they used 0 of them. They used none of them. It was quite crazy. So that was one of my most fun jobs I've ever done, which was coming up with all different personalities. But I'm surprised. I'm not surprised, but I'm interested that doesn't exist or hasn't existed in online retail.
Yeah, same. Like, I mean, when we initially had the thoughts, we obviously spent a lot of time and research, and we were like, clearly someone must have done that before. It's mystery shopping goes back to, hundreds of years probably. That's maybe too long, but you know what I mean? And clearly someone would do that. But interestingly, as it stands, retailers just rely on the feedback from their customers. But then if you only have the feedback from customers, it doesn't allow you to ask certain questions you really want to know. Like, in some instances, what makes someone prefer Maya over David Jones or other way around? You can't ask a converted customer. Yeah. What makes someone to never return to this retailer? Or was there anything that would have made them abandon the website? And I guess we all have tons of experiences of bad online shopping experience. And we clearly went like, well, that's it. I'm never going to go there again. That was my first and last order. And I mean, there are millions of these experiences, but you don't really find that out from your customers. And also like lots of smaller details. No customers contacting the retailer saying, oh, I've noticed there are 3 missing questions in your FAQs. If you would have them up, I would have not contacted your service, And that's what we're here for.
Yeah, okay. So I guess the lesson you're trying to, so maybe the lesson out of all of this is try to approach your business as if you're an outsider looking at your business. And I really like the point you made there about friction. Because if you think about, the big daddy of online retail being Amazon, they've got friction down to a point where you can literally push a single button and it charges the cards and sends it out. Like, that's the ultimate 0 friction experience, isn't it?
Well, and like if you look at our the online CX index we've just launched with Inside Retail, it does not show Amazon as the greatest experience. But obviously, there are also some other reasons. They're very fast, to be fair. But
Yes.
marketplace is always facing challenges that stocks coming from very different partners, and they might have different guidelines. They might sign up to overarching guideline, but if they can fulfill it and so on. And obviously the look and feel itself, if you have thousands of sellers, is a different one than if you're one brand in a premium space. So not exactly comparable, but let's say amongst the marketplaces, they do have a really good experience.
Yeah, cool. Okay. So just sort of thinking about, your role as the CEO of the business. And so what are the 2 or 3, if somebody was to come into your business, what do you think, if you were to mystery shop your business, what do you think of the 2 or 3 things that people would notice about your company?
What they would notice that I have an incredibly good sense of humor. No, I think they noticed that we are working all very close together as one team. We're not we don't really have hierarchies, but we're only at this stage only 12 people. I think. I guess we are enablers in a way. We want our people to grow with the business. There's a lot more to come, and we want everyone, to basically get there, find solutions with us together, and just being close to everything what happens. But then also, really understand the business and what we're doing. So every employee, including ourselves, we do online mystery shops on a frequent basis, which obviously helps us, to stay ahead of the product, make a lot of improvements, understand what our mystery shoppers are going through if they do a job for us and things like that. I think that's what it's quite noticeable. But yeah, we're all, I'd say, a tight, fun group with
Yeah,
high
good stuff. And do you work mainly from an office or mainly from home?
or from home. We don't have an office anymore. So we do still catch up physically, but now we have people from Wollongong to North Sydney. So it's really hard to bring them together. And we do have a lot of people with, smaller kids. I guess across all of us, we have definitely more kids than adults. But
Yep.
we want people to, work when it works for them. And, there's at 3 o'clock, everyone picks up their kids and then they come back on later and things like that. But yeah, we're very flexible with that. And knock on wood, that probably won't last for the rest of our life, but now it works well.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. I've actually been working from home now for 15 years and I miss the office. There was a contract that I did for a client where I was in the office there 2 to 3 days a week. And, those friendships are real friendships. Those connections are real. And
Yeah.
so I just find that those people who have had that exposure to and communicate with, just the walk past and the sitting in the lunchroom having a conversation, it's useful.
Yeah.
Although I do like working from home, has 15 years of doing it.
Yeah, no,
So
I agree. Even the after work drinks are nice, You just grab your colleagues and
yeah,
come on,
exactly.
let's have a beer.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice to do that. So tell me, just thinking about trends and going forward, what do if you're talking to other CEOs, what trends are you seeing in the tech world or are you seeing out there that you're taking notice of at the moment?
Trends in tech were definitely more female founders step by step, with still a very low amount of female founders, I'd say. And I've been to a couple of events and I still get sometimes mistaken for one of the waitresses. People place coffee orders with me. I'm thinking come on, people. Generally, I feel like at the moment there's so many good solutions coming out of the market, and it's really hard to get to kind of get an overview of what do you really need as a business. It's a positive because obviously, it challenges everyone to get a little bit better. But then with that coming other challenges, I think it is super hard to get through to the right person in the market, because all these new solutions are getting advertised and everyone's getting flooded with, EDMs and emails and so on. Like really having a voice in the market is quite challenging. I find that. And I feel
Yeah,
like it's getting harder and harder.
yeah, look, that's exactly right. That's what I'm seeing as well. Like we have a marketing company and cutting through is becoming increasing, is or has been and continues to become an increasing challenge because there's so much noise out there. Spend any time on any sort of social media platform or interacting with any type of entertainment, and we're always being bombarded with very specific, very bespoke advertising, which creates, a more noise. If I've made a little bit of an inquiry about X, Y, and Z, it's going to keep coming back and keep showing me that information. That's a real challenge to get that nuance. So what's been your most effective, so I'm going to talk about marketing and sales now. So what would be the most effective thing you've done to grow your business and acquire new clients?
I'm publishing data 100% because
Wow.
I'd say people or retailers assume what their experience is like, but they don't really know how it stacks up versus someone else. And again, that comes very much from the internal perception, not particularly always from the outside world. How this really stacks up versus competitors or versus the industry was, I'd say, pretty much widely unknown.
So industry data, are you publishing industry data or are you publishing your own client results data?
Yeah, we publish like anyone's online mystery shopping data. Not anyone's, but the top 100 in Australia.
Okay.
That does include clients, but also lots of non-clients.
Right. You get to tell them that they're not great, and then you can solve the problem for you.
Yeah, well, I'd say most of them we publish, they are pretty good because it's the currently 100 best experiences, but there's some bit more at the bottom end, but that's kind of the idea.
Yeah, I really love that. So the biggest keys in publishing data, so adding value to people front end before the sale.
Yeah. And that's how we approach our busy prospects as well. We collect data and then approach them with some findings and learnings. But
Yeah. And what's been the worst or the least effective marketing that you've done? Or have you not done any ineffective?
we barely do EDMs, to be fair. And I'm not saying least effective, but I just feel like it needs to be very outstanding because people get like so many EDMs a day. I probably get 30 EDMs a day. It really needs to catch my attention, and probably we didn't get it right back then, but we've kind of moved away a bit from EDMs. Now we've picked that up again in line with the index and the data we published. But for a while, we've just literally said that we stop it now. It's just annoying. And if we don't have if we haven't found the holy grail on how to message our EDM, then just leave it.
Got it. Okay, that's interesting. That's it is a real challenge. There's so much noise out there. It's so easy to delete. What I've found though is that the consistently messaging, and it feels like you're always available. And that's the I wouldn't say value, but that's the way that we've been able to make EDMs work for us. Not cold. I haven't cracked cold email, and that's not really something I'm trying to crack. I'm not working very hard at all to try to crack cold email. But existing customers, as they come into our ecosystem, we continue to communicate with them, and we'll convert clients 12 months after they inquire, or even 5 years after they inquire, or they've entered our email system, simply because it wasn't right for them. And at any time, I think 2 or 3% of the market are actually in some type of buying cycle.
Yeah.
Everybody else is some variation of someone, I don't even know that I've got a problem, all the way through to I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, you're 100% right with that. Like, we've signed recently clients we've tried to hit up like already 2-3 years ago, but back then it wasn't the right time for their problem, and they were just not, whatever, didn't plan, they had other priorities, let's put it this way. So there's always a huge element of, guessing someone's intention and how big the problem is now. So obviously with the data we collect, we do have a good understanding on how big the problem is, let's put it this way. But
yeah, and I think that's a good point for people listening to really remember, is that it takes time for somebody to get to what problem you solve. So if you think about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or any type of, what's my to-do list? Well, you've got to get food, water, shelter, safety first. And in a lot of businesses, trying to give them, overly complex data-driven structures, which are massively important, and if they implemented them earlier, that would be valuable to them. But if they're too concerned about making it to next payday or making it to next pay cycle, it's just too much noise to really get in. So that's why there's huge value in continuing those online and email based nurturing ongoingly. So because people aren't ready.
Yeah, no, that's totally correct. And we only see the tip of the iceberg. They have probably 3 other projects which is really stressing them. And, I'd say the same. I'd rather focus on these 3 projects and get them done right, instead of taking another project. And then, nothing is done really well.
Yeah, that's right. And I've got a mate of mine who's a really sharp thinker. And I talked to him about because every business has problems.
Yeah.
Talking about that. And he solves it in a bubble with no context.
Yeah.
And none of the advice is applicable to my business at the moment, because I'm solving problem 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
He's talking about problem 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
And so, just got to continue to chip away at that stuff. What's your approach to, just sort of moving on, are there any common misconceptions that you feel that you need to sort of break down for people in the industry? What are they doing that they're not doing it right, other than, of course, the NPS score?
I guess I feel like there's a lot of misconception about driving traffic to someone's website. Retailers spend a lot of money driving traffic to the website, and we all know that customer acquisition cost has increased a lot over the last years. But I was saying is driving someone to a bad experience is even more costly, because you spend these customer acquisition costs and you probably get someone to check out, and then something happens in the journey after checkout, which disappoints them and never makes them come back. So you've not only lost the customer acquisition cost, but also customer lifetime value. And I feel like overall, from what I observe, is that there's too much focus on the website experience itself, getting people through the checkout. But from what we measure, 60% of the reasons why someone would not return to a retailer actually happen after checkout. So you can have an all shiny and nice website, and yes, great, this person checked out. And then you have really slow processes in the background, or bad post-purchase communication, long refund times, bad delivery communication, which makes people, again, not return to this retailer. There's not enough focus on that, but I also think it is a bit due to not having enough visibility on what is happening across the whole end-to-end journey. I mean, customer data is very fragmented in the company itself, and you have to pull a bit data from customer service, a bit from any service you do, from probably social media, what people comment and so on. It's really hard to understand across the end-to-end journey what the experience looks like.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight there, is the visibility after purchase. Sort of feels like the Uber of retail, whereas Uber, if I go onto my Uber at night, I go, well, it's 10 minutes away. Okay, cool. I've got enough time for, to organize myself, or, whereas if you, back in the day when you would order a cab, they said, well, we'll be there soon. And you're sort of now hanging around on the street for half an hour. You don't know what's going on. So the frustration that occurs in that gap, it doesn't happen with Uber. I don't use the current cab app, so I don't know if they do that now, but that's very interesting. I actually had exactly that situation where I ordered a chewing gum, it's called Neuro gum, sort of mental stimulation and caffeine chewing gum, because I need more caffeine in my life, right? And but what happened is I ordered it. It said, it gets cheaper on a subscription. I'm like, fine, subscribe. And then it literally took 4 weeks to arrive. And it almost got to a point where I actually went in and canceled my subscription, because I thought, you know what, the next batch is going to be dispatched before I even get the first one.
Yeah.
So, I tried to dig out their email and message them and create it. And I went, well, I just canceled the subscription. I got that one delivery, and that was the end of it.
Yeah. See,
and there was no information.
Information. And no one calling you, probably.
Nobody cared. And it might be, they were promoted on various podcasts, and I'm sure they're doing very well. But at the end of the day, they've lost me as a customer for very expensive chewing gum, simply because I saw that the tracking went to, I had to find it, click it. The tracking wanted me to download an app, which I went, no, I'm not interested in downloading another app. I've got enough apps in my life. It wanted me to download an app. Then it wanted me to do something else. And then I saw that it was in Vegas because it's coming from America, and it
Yeah.
stayed there for 3 weeks.
Yeah, there was probably
So
some.
I'm like, what's happening? Is it ever going to be sent?
Yeah,
Is this a
I wouldn't
rip-off?
do that. Having a subscription coming from the US, it just can only cause trouble.
The kinetic. So
Back
anyway,
to
they
Uber
lost.
Eats, I've been recently really disappointed with Uber Eats because, when you place an order and then gives you the estimated delivery time, you're like, okay, in half an hour, that's good. But then you get constant updates on like your driver is first stopping here, secondly stopping there, and then as some other things on the route. And then like in the end, it took an hour and I got cold food. And I think I had that 3 times in a row. And then I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
That's it.
So if anyone from Uber Eats is listening to that, please tackle this issue.
Also, the amount of the cost extra, because the restaurant has to pay a lot of money to Uber. Plus, of course, you've got to pay the driver. And I've just found that a $10 thing I can pick up is now 20 or 25.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The convenience is not worth that.
I try to bring it down, I assume, when they kind of bundle tasks or like trips and so on. Like that's why it always says your Uber drivers, whatever, literally doing something else right now to bring the costs down. But then I think it also comes down to expectation management. If I know straight away it takes an hour, fine, then I can manage myself to wait for an hour. But if I think it takes half an hour and I'm really hungry and then it takes more than an hour in the end, then I'm pretty annoyed.
I'm done. Okay, so the lesson we can share with businesses out there is pretend like you're a customer, right?
Yeah.
And so approach your own business.
Because it still would know other things like, but yeah, I mean, and do the same with your competitor websites. If you really want to have a comparison and if you want to understand who's possibly taking your market share, really like find out how does it look like for yourself and for your competitor.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And because then you're going to get those real insights. We think that this company is coming after us, but we think they're doing these things.
Yeah.
But so how do you do that? I mean, how do you not get blind to your own process? How do you not get blind to your own business? So I think that would have to be a challenge, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's something you probably can't avoid, right? But then you also have new employees coming on board, and maybe it's worth, sending them through the experience. They're probably less biased at this stage than you are, but 100%, everyone is becoming a bit business blind. No matter what business you have, it's always worth, having someone from the outside looking into that.
So what advice would you give to businesses who want to use their data, who want to undertake some mystery shopping or inviting existing new team members to experience their product or service? How do they then take that information and turn that into actionable insights?
I don't know how they do that internally. I mean, obviously, in order to get, a robust data set, you have to have a certain amount of people going through, right? It can't be just one person. It can't be just 2 people. So you have to have a bunch of people doing that. The same with yourself and your competitor insights. I guess the easiest approach you can have if you have kind of a, given journey and points where someone leaves feedback. So it's easier for you to aggregate the data at a scale and really learn from the insights. That's probably the best way to do it. But yeah, I mean, I do think lots of businesses, and obviously ask it quite often, they do a little bit kind of their own online mystery shopping, but it does require a lot of time and many different people to get to a robust data set.
Yeah, very cool. So robust data set, what we should be going after. So just to finish up, because I know you're a busy person. So just to finish up, what would be if you were to go back, you've been in this business 2 years or 2.5 years. If you were to go back to day one, what would you tell yourself to avoid or to do more of?
I guess I would have definitely probably more published data at an earlier stage. I think, initially we were a bit afraid of, probably retailers won't like that. But then the reality is you can't avoid it. Like no one can avoid customer reviews or anything like that. So technically we can Google anyone. Probably I would have done that. And probably I would have built a different go-to-market strategy overall. I think lots of things were, and that's probably also natural in the process, a lot of learning by doing, but we would have done that differently.
Okay. And do you have any ideas what you would have done specifically differently?
Yeah, I think we were probably too, in our messaging, definitely a bit too fluff initially, and like not good enough in articulating the value of what we deliver. I still think we have room for improvement. We always will, but I guess I would have done that 100% differently. I mean, the way we didn't start as a SaaS company, like we started as kind of doing one-off assessment. Now the majority of our customers use us on a permanently basis. I would have done that differently, but on the other hand, you got to do some things wrong in order to learn faster.
Absolutely. Yeah, fail fast. I think that people say, don't they?
Yeah.
Very good.
Sometimes it hurts, but it also needs to hurt sometimes. So.
Yeah, I mean, and really, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it too. I often, and it's not always a smooth road from A to B. There's lots of detours, lots of challenges along the way, and putting stuff out there. Done is better than perfect, or done is the enemy of perfect. And so just being able to get out there and get stuff into the market and iterate. That's what I hear a lot in this podcast and from my clients is getting stuff at a cycle speed. So it's not just, I'm going to do this one piece of marketing or this one market positioning or whatever it might be. And it is hoping that works.
Yeah.
We go, well, so we've started in our business, in our practice, has started to think about this as an experiment. Here's experiment number one. And by framing marketing as an experiment, then we've been able to do it faster, do it for the client cheaper, and being able to cycle that much more effectively by picking out the bits that work and binning the stuff that doesn't.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that.
So,
and I mean, ultimately, everything is a bit like an experiment, or like at least in the startup world, because you do everything is the first time. So kind of feels like, let's see how that goes. We don't have any data or learnings to look back on, so we just got to try. But yeah, I like this approach.
Yeah, perfect. Well, look, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Some great insights there. I love the idea of bringing data to the front, because what I interpret that from a marketing perspective is it's bringing the problem to the market in sharp relief, in really, really clear, articulated terms. This is your problem, or this is the problem in the marketplace. Whereas you're right, a lot of marketing is, we'll help this or solve that, or here's our motherhood statement. But if you really hit them between the eyes and say, this is the number, you can get better, then that's actually they can then take that cognitive leap between this is the problem to my solution, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. Give people some data, unbiased data, and I guess it makes lots of people think.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. I'll let you go. I know you're busy. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. Bye.